Thanks for joining us on the program, everyone. You see, across the world today, questions of peace and security are no longer confined to the battlefield. From the use of prohibited weapons to the risks posed by emerging technologies, humanity faces threats that test both our science and our diplomacy. And that's why Nigeria has put forward one of its most distinguished envoys, Ambassador Dr. Eniola Ajayi, for the position of Director General of the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, OPCW. Dr. Ajayi has served as Nigeria's ambassador to the Netherlands and to Hungary, engaging directly with the OPCW and other institutions of international law. She's chaired the OPCW's Executive Council, represented Africa with distinction, and advanced reforms in education, technology, and the environment back home. Now, as straw polls approach and the race intensifies, Nigeria seeks to make history, potentially producing OPCW's first African and first female Director General. She joins me on Beyond the Headlines. Ambassador Ajayi, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you.
So Nigeria has put forward two major international candidacies this year. You for OPCW, Dr. Elias for ICJ.
Yes.
He was here some weeks ago. What do you think this says about Nigeria's evolving role in global governance, and how does your candidacy fit into that vision?
Well, it just goes to reaffirm Nigeria's position on their commitment to the issues of security and the rule of law. You know, Nigeria has produced these distinguished luminaries over the ages, and they are no stranger to the institutes in The Hague, especially the courts, right. International Criminal Court, International Court of Justice. Even we've had roles as ambassadors in the Permanent Court of Arbitration. And in my own case, I have had a distinguished opportunity of holding several key positions while serving as ambassador in the Netherlands to the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. It says that Nigeria is really committed to the issues of peace and security across the world, especially when you look at even the role we play also at the African Union and several other key positions in international organizations. So Nigeria is at the forefront of ensuring that there's peace and security, not just in Nigeria, in Africa and the rest of the world.
Well, let's break this down for our viewers who may not fully understand what the OPCW does beyond banning chemical weapons. Why should the average Nigerian or African care about this organization?
Well, like you said, banning chemical weapons is the major work of the OPCW. That is preserving what we call the Chemical Weapons Convention. Now, the average Nigerian should care because, you know, guns are scary, they're obvious, and if you see one, you can probably run away. But when it comes to the issues of chemical or nuclear weapons, nobody is spared. And worse still, the effect lingers for many years to come. You know, they killed thousands of people during the Second World War just using chemical weapons. Even ordinary, it's not ordinary, things like sarin and stuff. If they just put a little bit in a place where any human being makes contact and it gets into the blood, the person is gone, really, without quick intervention. So every Nigerian should care because chemicals are transported across borders and they come sometimes disguised as chemicals that are for peaceful purposes. So we should all care about the implications of chemical weapons.
Especially now that it seems that everyone is going crazy and the world is at war. But you've described yourself as a bridge between science and diplomacy. In very practical terms, how would that unique background, you know, help you steer the OPCW?
Okay, for one, the work of the OPCW is diplomatic in nature, but the basis and the foundation is science. So for someone who trained as an eye doctor, that means I'm not a stranger to science. I'm not just an eye doctor who does clinical work. I also did research at the Institute of Ophthalmology in London and St. Thomas's Hospital in London. I was a research fellow. So I'm conversant with the use of chemicals and the implications even to human beings. So basically, that scientific background makes it easy for me to assume the role of the Director General of the Technical Secretariat for OPCW. And then being a diplomat, because the work of the DG of the OPCW is tripartite in nature. Okay. Number one is that you are the administrator. You oversee the day-to-day running of the organization. Number two is that you are the chief representative. That you are the number one diplomat of the organization. So you represent the organization in international organizations like the United Nations and many other places. And also, as a diplomat, you bring the state parties together. You become the one who engenders proper cooperation among state parties. And then the core work of the organization is verification and inspections. You are the one who oversees that primarily to make sure that chemical weapons are destroyed where they need to be destroyed and to prevent the emergence of stockpiling again for use and ensuring that chemicals are used for peaceful purposes only. So that's the work of the DG, and that's where I come in. I'm a scientist, I'm a diplomat, and I'm someone who has also led within the executive space. So I know how to bring people together, and I know how to lead organizations.
The poll is in September, right?
Yes.
So, like, how many other people want to
contest? It's a large field. We actually have 11 people, 11 of us, 4 of them from Africa, 4 from the East European group, 1 from the West European group, and 2 from the GRULAC. That's the Latin America and the Caribbeans. And there's none from the Asia group. So basically, there are 11 of us.
I'm looking at your 6-point vision here. And it's talking about part of your 6-point vision is modernizing for impact. Especially with the rise of AI, new techs, how do you see the OPCW adapting to these realities without losing sight of its cost disarmament mission?
Yeah, well, actually, it's to enhance the work. Artificial intelligence is already in use at OPCW, but a proper ethical use of it to ensure that we stay several steps ahead of those who seek to use artificial intelligence to do us harm. So basically, this is very crucial in the area of verification and inspections, because the artificial intelligence through satellite imagery and all kinds of analysis can predict what to expect on the field when you go out for inspection. So OPCW is already using AI, and I intend to be able to continue with the ethical and proper use of artificial intelligence. So,
Ambassador, if you're elected in September, you would be both first African and the first woman to lead the OPCW. Beyond symbolism, what tangible benefits would this representation bring to the organization and, of course, the global
to
south?
Africa? Yeah, I like that. Actually, being an African, and especially being a Nigerian, is of real great benefit. Let me explain. Nigeria's foreign policy rests on the fact that Nigeria is enemy to none and friends to all. So it makes it easy for us to be neutral, to actually not take sides and be bridge builders. We bring together. And you see, in my own case, it's not a theory anymore. I already served in that organization as vice chairperson and as chairperson. And in fact, the time I served as the chairperson of the organization was a very critical time. It was just like 5 days after the conflict in Ukraine started. And everybody thought that all hell would break loose in that place. But somehow I managed to keep us on point. I managed to enable everyone to have their say. but there was no disorderliness, and every day was timeously executed. That after the 3 days, we not only finished in record time, we were also able to adopt a report. So the people in The Hague, especially my colleagues I served with, they know that I'm very friendly. So my approach is always friendly, firm, and fair. And because of that, I know that I will be able to reduce the level of polarization in the organization. That's for the organization. For Nigeria, for Africa, it shows our commitment to international peace and security. It also brings more recognition of how concerned we are as a people to the peace and the security architecture of the world. So it showcases us in the right light and also creates more opportunities for us. Because, you know, like begets like, even without trying.
That's right.
When I become DG of OPCW, the average Nigerian becomes aware of an organization called OPCW. Then they begin to think of applying to the place. So we're not short on talents, but you cannot apply for a job you don't know anything about. By my coming out, more people in Nigeria and in Africa become aware of this organization called OPCW. In fact, one of the things I aim to achieve is to give OPCW more visibility across the world, because it's one of the most successful disarmament organizations that we have today. And there are 193 countries accredited to OPCW. It's only 4 countries that are not involved in OPCW. And most people don't know what it is. Because when I say to people, well, I'm the candidate, the nominee of Mr. President for the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, they're like, what is OPCW? So I have to explain and all that. So all of that will change. So
I'd like us to, you know, explore the gender angle to this, but that'll be right after this break. Stay with us, everyone. Don't go away. Dr. Eniola Ajayi is my guest on the show today. She's former Nigerian ambassador to the Netherlands and Hungary, and she's now been nominated as Director General of the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. Thank you so much for staying the course on the program.
Thank you.
You currently chair Nigeria's Women Ambassadors Network, right? How do you see gender equity shape global diplomacy, and what lessons do you carry from this race? I mean, for this race.
For this race. Well, especially in diplomacy, being a woman is of great benefit. We're able to disarm easily with soft power. By nature, women are not confrontational, and they are less threatening, even when they come with serious issues.
Certain women.
Most women.
Most women, okay.
Most women.
Well, you are the scientist, so I want to assume that you have done your research.
I've done my statistics, you know. Yeah, so when we come to the table to negotiate, we don't seem like everything we're saying is cast in iron and we are unshakable. We may be unshakable, but we don't approach the table that way. We have the ability to listen and hear the other parties out and see if there's any benefit to the argument. Even if we stay on point, but the other person doesn't feel cheated out of that negotiation because they've had their opportunity to be heard. This is one key thing that a woman brings to the table. And because we come in that way, we're able to achieve a lot. When I chaired the OPCW Executive Council, I remember that everybody thought it was going to be a turbulent one. But one thing I did before the meeting started was that I met with stakeholders, and I asked of them that could we keep like the tempers down and not call one another names, and basically asked them to kindly cooperate. A man would not approach the issue that way. It would be seen as a soft thing to do, asking for cooperation ahead of a meeting. But I knew that that was what it required, and I was not shy to ask for it. And when the meeting was done, first day seemed like, oh, was this a fluke? Second day, same thing. Third day, and we achieved results. That's what a woman brings to the table.
Unfortunately, I don't think that we are really taking advantage of that gender role back at home, where you consider low representation in
especially
leadership.
in the National Assembly.
In fact, your Women Ambassador Network, how many are you there?
Well, you know, the Women Ambassadors Network is not just current ambassadors. Okay. In fact, we don't have current ambassadors in terms of those that are working as ambassadors. We have, this network is for past, present, and future ambassadors that are women. Okay. Because we wanted a platform where, number one, we could help ourselves and train, and also mentor the young diplomats, female diplomats coming after us. So we're quite a number. Right now, I would say we're about 35 in that network. But the last set of ambassadors who served in mainstream with both career and non, and then this network is for both career and non-career ambassadors. I don't think we were up to 10 who were at different positions. You've
been commissioner twice.
Yes.
You've served as ambassador. Now you're eyeing to lead the OPCW. What's the challenge with female representation in Nigeria? You know, the conversation has been on as to whether we need that 35% affirmative action, and other people are saying perhaps we have not empowered our women enough to be able to even vie for this position against men. Okay.
Luckily also, you may not know from my CV that I actually ran for House of Representatives in Ekiti as the first female to win the primaries of the APC at the time in 2015. The issue really is that because of our nature as women, honestly, we're not like out there, maybe aggressive enough to say and demand roles. It's very rare for a woman to come out and say, I want to become a senator. You know? It's not like you don't have the capacity, but you just don't have the lever for whatever it will take, and you're like, I don't want trouble kind of thing. So that's the major challenge. The other challenge is finance. Many women don't have the capacity to be able to finance political machinery and campaigns. What we need in Nigeria, which is what we're asking for now, is actually a deliberate action by the government to say we set aside this number for women, House of Assembly and the National Assembly, and even in leadership. Our president is doing well with the executive for women, but we need to do a lot more in the area of
You want certain seats designated for women?
Yes, because if we do just one senator out of 3, that would be at least 30%, 33%. That's fair. But if it's going to be by this kind of competition that we go through, it will be very hard to have. And there's so many competent women. I don't overrate myself, but I don't think there's even a state that I cannot lead in this country. And even if it came to presidency, I can lead Nigeria. But I'm not made of the stock of trying to struggle for anything.
Do you have that ambition?
No, not really, because you see, maybe by the trajectory of my life, it's always been, Eniola, come and do this. Even as little as chairperson of the Parents Teachers Association. I'm always the kind of leader that they bring out to come and lead. Anywhere I find myself, all the positions I've held, I did not go out looking for them, including this one.
But a big challenge that I've heard people say is that not quite a number of women have been seen supporting women politically. Take the instance at the Senate, for instance, the senator that was suspended. Like a handful of female senators, but not many of them came out in solidarity in our support.
Well, it's unfortunate that it's that way, but the thing is, how many are there? And how many have the guts to stand up for something? You know, that's the thing. People like to be liked and to be seen as politically correct and aligned. So many times, because of their own position, they're not willing to risk it. So they leave you to face your trouble. You know, and that's really the bane of our society, not being able to stand up for the oppressed.
Your background spans medicine, governance, diplomacy. Which of this experience most shaped the leader that you are today, and how will it influence your leadership style?
No, it's actually combined. I've learned everything. In fact, the trajectory of my life has been very interesting. I started as a youth corper in the Nigerian Air Force. So that means I served as a civilian staff in the military. And then I started my own practice. So that means I've also been in private sector. And then while I was doing that, I was invited by my state to be commissioner. So I served in the executive position. And while I was serving, I was told, we need a female in the National Assembly. Why don't you contest for House of Representatives? And I did that. And then, okay, the election didn't go as planned.
What happened at that election? You feel you were rigged?
Yes,
rigged
definitely.
Out? You think you were the most popular candidate at the time?
Oh, no. I had a vision for Ekiti. And things I would have delivered on.
Just like every other candidate in
No, not really, because in my own case, I have a track record of being a senator. I ran a very, very strong in their top 3. And when you top 3 out of 11, that's a good sign. I've also gotten some feedbacks that I'm the #1 candidate for many countries. I'm hoping that that pans out to be so. And when I look back, you know, there's something about you looking at yourself critically and seeing whether you measure up. In all my interactions with the regional groups, with bilaterals with state parties, even at the presentation July 7th at the Executive Council, I know that I've made a good representation of myself. And I've had meetings with capitals of some countries. They've invited me to their countries to come and interface with their departments on disarmament. I know that I was able to give a good pitch and make a good account of myself. So I'm actually very confident, not by being prideful, but because of the fact that with my political background, I can read the field. I see the way things are turning in my favor. And I know that I've left a good mark in the organization. There are many people, if it comes to sentiment, that see me as a friend. So I didn't have to try and build that capital because it was already established. So I'm really trusting that this will work out in my favor.
We're optimistic as well, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
So when and if you become the DG, I want you to promise that you will give us your first interview at TVC News.
That's not difficult.
You know, so that we can speak
You've
to
offered me, you've offered me the first platform to speak about this candidacy in Nigeria.
In Nigeria. Oh, okay.
Because I was able to do something on the Diplomat magazine in Europe, in the Netherlands to be precise.
Okay.
Yeah. When I become DG,
we'll be talking to the first African and the first woman to be DG of the OPCW. Thank you so much for talking to us. Ambassador Dr. Eniola Ajayi, we wish you all the best.
Thank you, Nifemi.
That's our show today, everyone. Remember, you can watch this conversation again at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. See you again next week.